Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right?
What's up, guys? GP here, back with episode 7 of the Peach Chronicles, and this is season 1, episode 7 of the show Atlanta. The name of the episode is B.A.N, standing for Black American Network, which also just happens to stand for bitch ass nigger. I don't think that that's a coincidence in any type of way, but I'm just gonna throw that out there. I do like, this is the first episode where they really start mixing in the strangeness of Atlanta. This is the first thing. So if you guys have seen the whole show, in season 3 and season 4, there's some episodes that aren't really at all associated with the show, and this is kind of the first one. It's a glimpse of it, because obviously most of this episode, Paper Boi is in it throughout, but it has the commercials in between this pseudo fake BET setup, because that's all it is. I'm sure people have realized that, but this is just a play off of BET, but the commercials are also catered to black people in the same way commercials on BET would be catered to black people. And Donald Glover and the director do a great job of instituting funny commercials that are completely realistic and relevant for black people.
Dodge Charger, the official car of making a statement without saying anything at all.
Like the first commercial, Dodge Charger. Not the fact that the Dodge Charger isn't a nice car, but it is a certain type of car, and depending on what package you get, the Dodge Charger could be a very nice car or it can be kind of just a normal car, but either way they tend to be loud. Either way, a lot of people, for some reason, in Dodge Chargers typically, maybe it seems like, want to be seen. And in this commercial, he's selling the fact, or they would be selling the fact, that this dude in the Dodge Charger gets seen in his Dodge Charger. That's what fulfills him, and then he drives away. So it's pretty applicable to somebody who'd be driving through a neighborhood trying to get seen, maybe playing loud music or whatever, and buy a Dodge Charger because you're going to get seen, or you'll get some attention, or you'll get noticed in it. That's what I take from the opening commercial, but feel free to always add in the comments below, guys, if you think something different from me, because obviously there's definitely not one way to take in this information or perceive it or have a different perspective. That's what I'm trying to say. And so as they introduce the Black American Network, they have the traffic and the dancing type transitions that would have been from like early 2000s black TV. Like the black TV that I woke up to in the mornings, or would even go to bed if you're watching a black network late at night, whatever. The shows are going to have these type of transitions in them if somebody were to not know that. Because I've realized a few of you guys, or there's some international viewers, a few people might not really understand the themes that Atlanta is giving off. So I hope I can clear some of that up as best as I understand it.
And welcome to Montague. I'm your host, Franklin Montague.
So Montague is like a lot of, at least perceived, black anchors who have to stay like neutral and can't really ever report on the side of the black person to keep a high level job. And obviously this is like a BET guy, so it's not really realistic. Somebody like this wouldn't be on BET. It would be on more of like either a conservative or liberal platform, but it really wouldn't be a BET news station that would be like this. But it's just the most appropriate setting that Donald Glover could put it on. This is also how we try to get celebrities to speak for us.
We have the head of the Center of Trans-American Issues, Dr. Deborah Holt, and recording artist Paper Boi.
And Montague chose Paper Boi to come in to do this. The white correspondent is the leader of the Trans-American ... like organization. So probably somebody who understands the issue at hand, fights for the issue at hand, is intelligent to speak on the issue at hand. And for our black representation, we have this rapper who doesn't even know about this, and later in the interview says he didn't even know trans stuff existed before. It's interesting to just see how we're portrayed in the news, how we're portraying these. Like, why would Paper Boi, a rapper, be the representation for black people to go speak on this on a news channel? It doesn't make any sense.
You engaged in a Twitter rant that had some pretty inflammatory statements.
Why would you have him explaining a Twitter statement? Why does his opinion on these issues even matter in real life? Why do celebrities' opinions on people's sexuality and I get that they influence people, but they influence people because we put so much weight in their opinion. Who cares what he tweeted?
I just don't have to have sex with Caitlyn Jenner because y'all say so.
So you don't think Caitlyn Jenner is important?
And of course, this is what reporters do. A lot of times they'll instigate something, and because he never said she wasn't important, or they weren't important, or whatever. Paper Boi is saying that it's not relevant to him, but then on another token, I hope I don't get in trouble for this episode, but I always try to put in perspective how I would feel if it was like up to, like, let's say if they put insert black person here, and the dude was just like, I don't think, and say it was a white man saying, I don't think that black issues are relevant to me. That probably wouldn't sit right with me. So when I watch episodes like this, I get it, because there are, for a lot of people, bigger fish to fry for their own personal life, for everybody. Their own personal life, their own personal people, or whatever, the people that look like them, the people that associate with them, even the people in the same class as them, are the ones that are going to get most of their attention. But when you verbalize it that way, it sounds harsh. And then for Paper Boi to sit here and hear her say this, and obviously we know when she says certain demographics, she's talking, or in my opinion, I hate to say obviously because it's all opinion. In my opinion, when she says certain demographics, she's talking about black people, because Paper Boi's sitting right next to her and stuff, and how black people struggle to accept some of these norms. And she starts to explain why black people, as a white person, she starts to explain why black people don't accept some of these norms. These aren't easy things to hear, even if there's truth to it. And oftentimes there's not. But sometimes there is truth lining what somebody could say, but you can't receive this information from just anybody.
Has more to do with issues of masculinity in the black community than actual homophobia or transphobia.
The interesting things about her statement, and I hear sometimes where Donald Glover is able to play the role of fly on the wall. He's not choosing a side. He understands Paper Boi's side. He understands her side. And her side isn't even anti-black if you hear what she's saying. If you really listen to what she's saying, she's really not pinning it on hatred, because she's saying it's not an issue of hatred. It's an issue of, like, misunderstanding the self and where the self plays into, like, the greater community. Which, if you say this about any men or anybody who has feelings towards other people, a lot of, like, certain negative feelings towards other people, a lot of times it's not hate, and a lot of times we classify things as hate that truly aren't hate. Because ignorance and hate can be the same thing, but they can also be completely different things. You don't have to hate something to even not like it. And you don't really have to hate something if you don't understand it. You can disagree with things. You can have differing opinions and still not be hateful. So I even appreciate how Donald Glover wrote into her lines that she's not coming from these people hate these people stance. It's more of these people aren't really in a position to understand what this is stance. In the same as last episode where Van and her friend at dinner weren't speaking the same language, this woman and Paper Boi aren't speaking the same language.
Well, I did some research on your lyrics, and they're actually very pro-sexual spectrum.
Donald Glover's doing an excellent job of exploiting that. She asks him if he's what he would consider himself a straight rapper, and then directly quotes his lyrics as if those lyrics, like rap lyrics, can be taken literally. Because no music lyrics can be taken literally. But as a way to put black people on blast, rap lyrics are taken literally. Like, there is no category of music where the music could be really taken literally and it work 100% of the time, because it's not how creating art works. In the same way you couldn't look at a painting and be like, this is a full representation of what's going on. People can say and make up anything. Or if somebody wrote a movie about a mass murder, you wouldn't assume that they're a murderer. But when it comes to rap, as a way to weaponize it, people read those lyrics word for word, and that's what she did in saying that he has really accepting lyrics. And he could have been like, because he doesn't really speak the language of acceptance, and in his mind, acceptance is kind of a negative thing. To him, it makes him sound, I don't know, like, it makes him feel soft, or makes him sound soft. He could have just gone with it and been like, yeah, it's accepting, whatever, if that's what you call it. But he takes offense to it being accepting, and she's not even really trying to insult him, but he's taking it as an insult. And that really shows that they're speaking different languages.
You my N-word, you my N-word for life.
Yo, you know that ain't what I meant.
Because it would literally be like, there are some things in Spanish that are said completely different in English, and if you read it word for word, it wouldn't make sense. You have to read it in the context in which a Spanish speaker is speaking. In the exact same way, when it comes to rap, when it comes to black people and black culture in general, you have to accept it for what it is. And then black people have to, because we have a different like lexicon altogether and how we classify a lot of our words, there has to be an understanding on both sides that we're speaking a different language.
Now, look, I'm allowed to say that it's weird.
And this is another, this conversation is a fly on the wall, Donald Glover example of him looking in and exposing both sides, the ridiculousness of both sides, the ridiculousness of Paper Boi not being able to see that he may have hurt somebody, he may have insulted people, and some of his lyrics come off as a certain type of way, and then her not being able to accept that she's not going to be able to speak in those type of terms and put people on blast like that and get her point across to make people accept through like bullying with terms that they don't use. Like, you wouldn't go to another language speaking country and expect them to understand it in the same way. And I know that black people live in America, but we live in a different reality of America than other people live in. Just like, and everybody else's reality seems like it's understood except for ours, because there's no attempt to a lot of times. So, and I think we're going to get into that later in this episode.
$1.49? But the price on the can, though.
I take the Arizona commercial as things are going up in price. And we've been looking at things be the same price forever, like at McDonald's and stuff like that, and what things are supposed to be cheap. And they've even had the price put on items, and now they have to take it off. Even at the dollar store, stuff is like, now certain levels, they increase the Five Below threshold. It's just stuff is going up in price, but we're like, bro, it's always been this price. It's literally on the can, like. And the cashier doesn't understand it either. He just works there. He don't earn it. He don't own it. He didn't set the prices. He's like, why is this more? They're both confused, equally confused, and I love that. I take the malt liquor commercial to be like, all alcohol is shit. It's just all about the packaging. And they'll have like fine malt liquor on there, but you'll see malt liquor in a paper bag on the side of the street and shit like that. But maybe if we advertised it like this, dude dressed nice, got waves going, it's in a glass, it's not coming out of the bottle. If we did it more like in a Stella champagne type of way, it wouldn't be seen the same. It wouldn't be seen as a hood ghetto drink or whatever. Like, beer isn't high class because it's something else. Like, malt liquor is actually very strong too in terms of a lot of different types of alcohol. I think it just shows like the packaging is what really matters. Like, how we present things matters so much. And that's kind of the theme of a lot of this episode. Like, things aren't necessarily how they seem, it's really just how they're presented. And then you get another Dodge Charger commercial. And we get consistent commercials like that. And it's the same shit. And this time he sees somebody else in a Dodge Charger, and they pretty much just agree, yeah, we both cool, and drive off. Like, the commercials are so witty, so quick, so kind of relatable that it's almost too good to be a real commercial, but it feels like a commercial. Even how they have like the stunt driver like warning at the bottom and stuff like that. This episode did a great job of making the whole thing feel like a TV program. That's still a TV program, but a different type of TV program.
Nathan Wilder has the story.
This dude's name is so close to Nathan Fielder. I know it's not the same thing, and I'm sure it easily could be a coincidence, but it's just like Nathan Fielder.
I'm a 35-year-old white man.
Has transracial identity, identifying as Harrison Booth.
Just be thinking to myself, like, why am I not getting the respect I deserve?
Dude, like, this is the one side where Donald Glover's showing, it's almost like he's unraveling the argument that black people make and really showing it as a story. Almost like, okay, if this is acceptable, then this has to be acceptable, because there's no proof for either one. Like, if we get to say we're things or we're different labels that are abnormal, where do we decide which ones are acceptable in our society and which ones are not? And I think this was one of the most probably viewed thing on like social media and memorable moments from the show, especially for black people, just because of how ridiculous it is. But when you really jam it in the context of the episode, it's not ridiculous, because it would almost need to be taken as seriously as the trans issues brought up earlier in the episode if we're really talking about a certain level of equality. And I'm not arguing this. What I am saying is, though, the polar opposite sides of this argument are being made. Like, the lady made her arguments and made some good points as to why it's struggling in the black community to be accepted. And then the black community is now going, all right, but what about this?
It just hit me. I'm white and 35.
And it's also funny that he's just naming stereotypical stuff. Like, black people go out and walk and go, black people be at farmers markets, black people do a whole bunch of shit. And then this young dude is just going off of the stereotypes of things that he thinks is supposed to be white stuff that his family doesn't do, at least in his neighborhood or whatever. And obviously, if you go to these places, they're going to be mostly white people, but we live in a mostly white country. But the play of how he boosts black people seeing themselves already in a black stereotype way, and how because he thinks that he likes to do white activities that makes him a white person, it opens up a can of worms, I guess.
They grew up having labels, and me, I'm just not like that.
And he says he grew up having labels and he's not like that. He's actually all about labels.
I dress a certain way. Patagonia.
Another ironic element.
Swisher Sweets. There's just something about them.
That may have been my favorite of the commercials. I'm just as a smoker. You can't advertise tobacco on TV, but if they could, that's how it would be done. Even how nobody smokes Swisher Sweets. Like, there are people who smoke Swisher Sweets without cutting them open and putting weed in them, but almost everybody does. And then they have the pre-uncut ones, which they have it just in other, like, you have to get another form. I don't think Swisher Sweets actually has the unfilled just wraps sold, because they never want to admit that they're a weed wrap company, which is exactly what they are, because they're part of Big Tobacco. So they're making money off of the weed industry, but they don't want to really admit that because that hurts their industry. But regardless, just a well-crafted commercial. Like, Donald Glover could start a marketing agency easily and just do social media commercials. Even when they put family farms.
From family-owned farms.
And it's clearly like, it looks like an African farm. No, not African. Probably like one of the islands. Like African descent farms, though, that does not look family-friendly at all. Even in the video that they put on here. And everybody is just smoking weed with the Swisher Sweet. Just a great commercial.
Caitlyn Jenner is just doing what rich white men been doing since the dawn of time, which is whatever the hell he want.
I don't even have anything to say about that. It's perfectly self-explanatory. There's no reason for me to expand on it. Paper Boi actually, when prompted, articulated his point perfectly. And that's what needed to happen for him to get his idea across. So I guess it teaches that communication's key, and you just can't trust the reporter, because then he's about to be on some bullshit.
Some people found your remarks offensive.
Yeah, well, freedom of speech.
No, you're right. I agree.
You hate women.
What?
He's just reaching for anything he can get. Montague is a hoe. He's actually a bitch-ass nigga. And then Donald Glover brings back the character from the first episode that was in the bus eating Nutella, and he gives him a commercial.
My name is Ahmad White. You may know me from your dreams.
Like, how is TV written this well? How has the whole story come together this well? I don't know. This type of stuff, it's special to me. Like, an episode like this, TV network on another TV network, still all just pretending. Still all relevant to the plot. We understand Paper Boi better. We understand he's articulate when he wants to be.
His wife left him for his brother. Long court battle, kids, house. It got messy.
So then we find out that the car is literally all he has. No plates, Bo doesn't even have pants on. The rest of Bo's life is literally in shambles. I like how he played off of like that rule of threes, where it's just funny because we got to see the Dodge commercial 3 times. It's the same character going through all of them. The first 2, it's like all positive. It's good. He's like saying what's up to the lady. And the last one, realize this is actually all he has.
Give me that crush.
The animals did used to be black in these commercials, and the kids were always trying to get it. He was always trying to steal it from them. The kids were always keeping it away from him, and Donald Glover just pushed it further and further and further into just an abuse story. Like, this is actually how they'd have to stop him, because these kids need help. He really just sat in the writer's room just like, it would be funny if... You remember when we were kids and those commercials came on? It would be funny if. That's just what happened. And he's come up with great commercials, and that's even a well-animated commercial.
You sitting on his back?
He was trying to steal your cereal, right?
I mean, it's just cereal.
And the kids just want to have mercy on him after a while. Usually in the commercial, they always just keep running away from him. They laugh at it, whoever doesn't get it or whatever, and the Lucky Charms do, whoever doesn't get it. But in this commercial, they're like...
Did you power up? Because you look like Super Saiyan right now.
So Paper Boi just starts cooking them. As black people tend to do to other black people, we'll easily cook another black person, like, quick. Even before we even know what's going on. And he's cooking this. This bread does look ridiculous. But when it's played in juxtaposition to the first half of the episode, the message is interesting. Because this kid, if he really feels this way, he damn near needs to be heard. Like, he can't just be mocked. Somebody needs to be receptive and hearing whatever is going on in his life. But how far are we going to let it go? There are literally black people who would be like, bullying would do that kid some good. I guarantee it.
A man wanting to turn himself into a woman, that's just unnatural. And I don't think we should have our kids thinking that that's okay.
Then he just really hones in on everybody only cares about themselves. Like, none of this other stuff matters. Like, people in a certain position care about, a certain sexuality care about themselves, a certain race care about themselves, a certain whatever care about themselves. This dude wants to have himself accepted. He doesn't give a fuck about people with other sexualities. In the same way most people don't care about other people. And then Paper Boi, damn near, it seems like it's growing respect for him just because he's like, alright, at least he real in one way. I guess is how Paper Boi sees it. I wish I could have put more of this episode up. This episode was written beautifully to where it was not insulting. It was neutral. It was playing both sides of the issue very well. And it exemplifies why Atlanta is such a good show. I'll see you guys next time on episode 8.
That's crazy.
550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right?